So over the last year and a half, occasionally the federal government has put some money into, keeping our society running and all of that. And a lot of that money, well, went to corporations. The idea was we give them a bunch of money, it saves jobs, it keeps the supply chains going, it keeps our society working. But did it? Because they got the money, there's a lot of ways that they continue to screw us over. And so we've got this report from the Center for Biological Diversity's Energy Justice Program and Bailout Watch. And it has to do with power plants, power companies that got tons of money, but still kept cutting power for some reason. So they analyzed 16 different large electric utilities, and they found that they collectively received a $1.25 billion bailout, but still cut power to nearly 1 million struggling customers in the US between February of 2020 and June of 2021. And here's the thing, you might say, okay, so they cut it for 1 million people, they got this money, maybe it wasn't enough. But I want to be clear, it very much was enough. The companies received enough funding to forgive customer debt hundreds of times over, but instead, many handed out executive bonuses and increased shareholder dividends. DTE, one of these companies, bumped investor payouts from 714 million to nearly 800 million over the last 2 years, while its CEO received a $2.3 million pay increase last year. And many of them said that the cost of doing business became more expensive, social distancing, buying PPE, stuff like that. But they could have canceled every bit of their customers' debt and made sure that they kept having access to their power for just 8% of the bailout sum. And when you think about what losing power, when you can't go anywhere, you might be dealing with the heat of summer and you're supposed to stay at home. They easily could have cleared the debt, Jason, and they just chose not to because they wanted to use the money for other things.
And line their pockets. I mean, what do you say to this, John?
Yeah.
This is unacceptable. I mean, there was someone who was mentioned that his bill was $243, right? And in the grand scheme of things, $243, especially in Los Angeles, that's like half of what your normal utility bill is. But in some parts of the country, that's really expensive. I mean, it's expensive everywhere. And you hit the nail on the head, 8%, right? I think it was like millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. 8% is a drop in the bucket of what they could have done with that money. But we see this time and time again with over the years with company MCI, Enron. All these people at their core are about lining their own pockets and making sure and taking care of self first, right? That's it. Who cares? And the simple fact that, I mean, you make a great point that, hey, we're in unprecedented times still. Yeah, we're kind of coming back from the pandemic a little bit, right? The new normal is becoming the new normal now, but it's nowhere near as open or as free, or people aren't able to move to the world as gracefully as they were before the pandemic. You imagine major metropolitan areas like Detroit, even here in Miami, FPL, which one of the companies mentioned also took money from the government in a bailout throughout the pandemic and served a lot of customers disconnection notices, right?
Yep.
It goes back to even unemployment. You have, I don't want to mention California's unemployment, unemployment company, but there's places in states where they have been given this money, but yet they're still not paying people. And then now they're sending out overpayment notices. Like, well, wait a minute, I didn't even receive money. Now you want me to pay you back? It's all messed up. It's all founded in greed and self-serving nature. I would imagine that's it, because I mean, how else can you explain it? The cost of doing business was way more expensive because of the pandemic, but only 8% of that money could have been used to take care of this much of a problem in the grand scheme of things. You could have went on with your day, spending the rest of your millions, giving all your shareholders more bonuses, but they chose not to.
Yeah, and look, we know both during the summer months and during the winter months, in Texas alone, we had devastating loss of life because of power outages. So if you would like to learn about all of this and believe that nobody died as a result, feel free to do that. I can't make that equation work out. But yeah, these companies, look, this is just one section. These power companies, 6 in particular, were really bad. But we know a similar sort of thing is happening with the money that was supposed to stop people from being evicted. Very little of it has actually gone out to the people who need it most. We needed this help, and thank God we got some of it. But some people made a ton of money off of this. And by the way, what's up?
it's interesting hearing about like, okay, so the moratoriums and the end of the assistance throughout the last year and a half when it comes to the pandemic. If you listen to the radio and listen to politicians and political figures talk about it, it's almost as if they have such a disdain for the fact that this money was even given, and they take pride in saying, yep, assistance is ending this week. It's almost like it was their money to give away, and they're waiting for a return or a repayment of the loan, and they're not getting that. There's this vitriol in their voice about that, instead of taking the other side or seeing the other side of the coin that, hey,
yeah, people
have, as you said, devastating loss of life, devastating loss of that's like the pinnacle loss of life, right? But there's so much trauma that has come of the last year and a half that I don't think these companies, as much as they want to be performative and have all these like cute commercials during Hulu, and you walk into Wells Fargo and you see we're doing this, it's BS.
Yeah.
Because the proof is not coming out.
We had the grocery store chain who's like all about their heroes and everything. And then like 2 of the stores tried to unionize, so they literally closed the entire stores. They just like stopped those stores. Yeah, they're heroes to you, huh?
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.